And welcome back to the Fly Culture Podcast with me, your host, Pete Tigers. Bit of housekeeping before we get going. It's not long till our event at the Fox and Hounds down in Devon that's happening really, really soon. It's going really, really well with the amount of people who are coming and also the guests that we have. So trout and salmon contributors, Paul Proctor, Gareth Lewis, Pete Cockwell. We've got Simon Kidd coming along from Snowby. We have got film from Jay Bartlett as well, which we're really looking forward to showing that. We have got local guides as well, Fred Brown and Harry Chance, who are going to do some demonstrations. There's going to be fly tyers there. There's even going to be some music in the evening, which should be some fun too. So if you'd like to come along, it's the last weekend. I think it's 27th to 29th of March. If you want to come along, just phone the Fox and Hounds, 01769 580 345. You'd be most welcome. It'd be great to see you along at this event. We're really, really excited about how it's planning out and how it's looking, but there is something for everyone. We're going to have some fly fishing tackle there as well. So Howard and Helen will probably be there with some fly fishing tackle. There'll be people tying flies. There's going to be all sorts of stuff for you. So really looking forward to that. You do not have to stay at the hotel. There is a weekend pass, which I think is 25 quid, which covers all of the weekend. And then if you want to eat or drink and be merry, then you can do that too as well. So hope I'll see you there. The podcast today, you may hear some wind in the background, but it's not Patagonia. I'm on my home river, the Tor, and it is salmon season has got going. And Emma and I started the day. We went down to the Fox and we had a bacon sandwich and a cup of coffee, a couple of cups of coffee, caught up with some of the guys there, and we come down to the river to give it a go, just to see what happened. The river's at a really nice height. The clarity is not too bad. The river does carry a little bit of colour naturally, but it looks okay. There's enough for a salmon and hopefully a springer, these unicorns, to see the fly. Emma's in the first pool washing pit at the moment, which is probably, I think it's probably one of the most productive for us, I have to say. I think it is the sort of pool that if fish are running the river, they have a breather in it. And Emma's at the head of it at the moment. I've caught fish, and the one salmon I had last year from this river was right in the head. And I think it was a fish that was running the river and was just looking to move on a little bit further. But it feels good. The wild garlic's out. Everything is starting to wake up. We saw some magnolia appear on some of the trees as well as we drove down. So, yeah, it really has that lovely spring feel about it. And it's just lovely to be back on the river. As you'll know, I did a podcast with Fred and we walked the river and had a look and we talked about streamers, but we're doing it for real now. And to throw off a few cobwebs of winter and pick up the double-handed rod for the first time since September is really fun to do. And what we've decided to do, Emma and I are in no panic to catch fish or anything. We decided just to take one rod with us and we're just sharing it as Emma works down the pool at the moment. But yeah, it's all really looking good. We'll have a chat about what we're doing, what it means to us, those sorts of things. But really looking forward to sharing these few hours with us. I hope you'll enjoy them. I think it's going to be some fun. We've got the April edition of the magazine is out. So I saw it online this morning, so I know it's certainly on there. So I'm looking forward to seeing the hard copy version itself. So Richard and I have done a lot on the next one, the spring edition too. So we're in really good shape with that. So we thought we'd nick a couple of quick hours and see if anyone's home. Well, you've been down Washing Pit, and I'd said while I was speaking while you were fishing that it would be nice to shake off a few cobwebs, but you were single spaying, circle spaying. It looked like everything slotted into place really, really nicely and straight back into form again.
Yes, luckily this year it did. Sometimes the first day can be a bit of a nightmare, but that was quite nice. Slightly too high for me to finish the whole of the pool, but you took over and did a great job.
It's been fun to come down this pool, and we've been reminiscing about some of the fish we've caught in this section. Hope always hangs on, doesn't it? We always hope that there might be the chance that that fly gets yanked by something.
There's always a hope, and I think the hope's getting less and less, isn't it? But it's just nice being here. It's a rite of passage every year to come down as soon as we can at the beginning of the season, and it's just lovely being here.
We were lifted by Harry Chance, actually, who's a regular on the podcast and has written for the magazine recently as well. Happened to be passing, saw our van with the backup, so dropped in and had a few words with us. We talked, of course, about fishing and his plans to go and fish in Wales at the weekend as well, because the trout season's open there. So much excitement about that. But he said Darren, who listens to this, I know, was up on Dartmoor and said he saw a salmon up there that they thought might have run all the way up already with all the water we've had. And with hearing stories like that, you kind of think to yourself, well, perhaps there is a chance that there is a fish about. So that sort of lifts expectations just a tiny bit. We don't fish with huge ones here, and we just sort of enjoy the experience as a whole. And, you know, as somebody, I often say on here, and that people often get fixated with fish, but you just enjoy the whole thing, and it's more than that for you, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think sort of down in Devon, the chances of catching a fish are getting to be so slight. So it's just nice to be out. It's nice to be in the river. It's nice to be with the dog. He's having the best time of his life back in his second home, chomping at all the wood that's been washed up on the shore. It's just lovely.
And for you, you like putting together a bunch of casts as well, don't you? It's the casting aspects, and a fish is a happy byproduct, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. And sort of like over the years, I'm still not hugely confident in my casting, but as I said, today's gone all right. So that's a positive.
And people often ask me about what's it like having a partner or a wife or whoever it may be that fish is. But for you, salmon's your thing. But are we ever going to get you to pick up a trout rod?
I don't think so. I just don't seem to get it. It's it seems. I'm going to say it looks really easy, but that's because it's the hands of the maestro here. So I can't beat Pete. So I think I'll just join him with the salmon.
And we've got a few trips planned this year. We're going to a secret river in Scotland in July. We're going to be up in Northumberland in September as well. So we're going to be taking the dog, certainly on one of the trips at least, and going from there. But you're looking forward to those trips too?
Yes, it's really lovely to have something different to look forward to, actually. Scotland's obviously a regular, and that's always nice. There's much more of a chance of catching a salmon up there, and the party that we go with is really lovely. So it's a really nice social occasion. And the other things that we have in are just added bonuses, which will be really lovely.
And we have a fishing day or two on the Tamar as well, which is, for listeners who don't know, that is the border between Devon and Cornwall. And we go down, we fish perhaps once a week down there. We're not due for a tiny bit yet, but that's kind of fun in a different way as well, isn't it?
It's really nice. It's a different river, isn't it? And it seems to be affected by the rain and the weather far more than the tour here. But it's just nice, and I feel that I need to know water really well. I'm not terribly confident at wading, so it's nice to fish places that are familiar, so I know where my feet go and where the cast is likely to go. So another place that I'm familiar with, and it's lovely. And again, there's always a hope, isn't there?
And that last salmon you've caught, I think, in the West Country was on the Tamar. I was setting up lunch and I got a message. You were with our dog Monty, and those immortal words, I got one, and I came running up, and that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was thrilling and very unexpected. It was sort of the last cast of a very long pool that I was casting off a Croy. So that was really exciting, very, very unexpected. And luckily I held on to it for the time that it took you to run down the river.
And I remember that I didn't have the salmon net because we'd left it with our friends who were up in Scotland. So I managed to get, what was it? I can't even remember. Was it £12?
Oh, gosh, I can't. Yes, it was about 12. It was an ice fish, actually, yes.
and I managed to get it in a stillwater trout net. So that was great news. So we shall try. I had one, as I said, I can't remember if I said this in the introduction, last day of the season here in the pool that we've just fished. It does look fantastic. Emma said to me how good the water clarity was. It's just about right as well. So we're going to go and fish the pool above, and the pool above is called Island Pool, and if fish are running, they have a nice breather in there. And I remember a time that our daughter Charlie and her partner Ash was with us as well, and I can't remember when it was. Was it April time? It might have been September, actually, and it was alive with fish, wasn't it?
It was such an exciting day. It sort of felt that every single cast that there could be a take. And I think I had at least 3 or 4 nibbled my fly, and I had a couple on for a short while. It was thrilling. And where we're going island last year, near the end of the season, I caught a really beautiful sea trout. So nice, I think it was like 6-7 pounds or something. So really large sea trout. Thought it was a salmon, but I was not disappointed when I landed it. Or when Pete netted it. So it was brilliant.
And that was the nice thing as well for Ash, who'd never salmon fished before. Our daughter had to drag him away. He was absolutely transfixed, and he loves to understand how things work, and he really got into the spade casting under Emma's tutelage, and we thought he might just get lucky, but sadly it didn't happen on that occasion. It was like a pulse of fish had come through. And yeah, like I've been saying, they just hold here for a little bit. The river here probably, holding pools for fish. There aren't so many. I think it's best when the river's either just coming up or just dropping away, and the fish are still running and just having a breather. I think that's what we've kind of figured out over the years. But like Emma said, the salmon runs that we've had have dwindled even in the 10 years that we've been fishing here. That the fishing isn't quite the same, and we'd come down and feel, yeah, we've got a chance here, and you'd hear of fish being caught on the river and think, right, okay, here we go. Putting it in context, I think the tour will probably return 70 or 80 fish in total for the 2025 season. So, they are proper. I hear the term unicorns used a lot, but they really are in this case. But I think it was probably one of the better performing salmon rivers in the West Country, so I can take solace from that and see. But it is about more, and we often say on here, it's about more than just the fishing. We're just having a really nice day. We're sharing a rod. The dog, like Emma said, is in his second home. He's loving that. He's transfixed at the end of the run when we wind him the flies. Is that a fish? Is that a fish? And he knows that, that's what he's here for. In his mind is to catch some fish. So we're going to try and do our best for him. Have a look at Island Pool. Emma's going to fish this one, as I've fished the back end of Washing Pit, and we often don't fish the tail of it as much as we do. It is relatively shallow, but back end of last year I was catching some sea trout down there, so I thought, right, well, let's give this a little bit more attention and we'll see what happens. We got I think it's a S5 tip on, about 4 feet of tippet, and then a big, I think it's a fulling mill, big fly for a springer. I hooked a springer exactly, actually it came off exactly where we're standing right now, when I had a young lad along to fish the river, hadn't really any real salmon experience, and I put him in Island Pool that I was just describing because I thought that would be the best shot of it in there if they were running. And I got a bit cold. It was April, I think, and I got a bit cold and said, can I have a cast? And typically hooked into a springer on that fly. That came off. So I'd never been so relieved. I was incredibly embarrassed. But we got a good look at it, and it was a good, strong fish. Gave me a good run. So those are the moments that you sort of hang on to, and that's what keeps me coming back. Well, that almost qualifies as some excitement, doesn't it?
Yes, I hooked a really beautiful trout, about 2 pounds. So there was a sort of fraction of a second where my fly tugged, and I thought, oh, are we in? But it wasn't. But lovely to see, and quite exciting.
Lovely to see. Monty's 10 this year, and he's been fishing with us on this bit all of that time since he was just a young pup, and it's lovely to see how excited he gets as well, isn't it?
Yes, and we have to show him the fish, don't we? So my fly caught a little tiny bit of grass as it was coming in. And just when the fly behaves slightly different, he just gets really excited, doesn't he? And I caught a tiny twig, and again, because I think he's looking at the line and he notices things, and he sort of just suddenly becomes alert, doesn't he? And it's just so nice. He's not necessarily getting the most exercise, but it's just the most brilliant day out for him, isn't it?
He's really stimulated by being here and loves being here. And like I said, I think it's just mental energy that he expends because he's spending so much time concentrating on the fishing. The lovely thing at this time of year is that the water's still a little bit cold. I've got thicker trousers underneath. I usually just wear flats trousers and stuff, but went for thicker, and he doesn't go leaping into the river as well at this time of year, and particularly is a little bit older now as well. So he's pretty smart on that front as well about water temps, isn't he?
Definitely, yes. Sort of, he can come on the gravel most of the way along here now, can't he? The water's not too high, so that works out really nicely for him. But he's sensible, he knows.
We walked downstream a couple of pools. One we've missed called Watts's, which is a little bit too deep, and I don't like the dog. As I said, with that cool water, sometimes he'll follow me down here, and I don't like him standing in the cold water for long at all. So I've given that a miss, and we've come down to a pool called 4 Acres, and has a lovely run in against the far bank, the right side, river right. And then it runs a fair way down, hence the name of it, actually. And then it's sort of, I always say to people when they come and fish here for the first time that it's kind of reminds me of the Welsh rivers here, certainly as it eases off flow a little bit, and some sizable trout will sit down against that far bank as well, often rising. Sometimes I'll throw a terrestrial in there, some other bits and pieces as well. Mayfly can be fun there too. From a salmon point of view, it's a bogus pool for me. I've never caught a salmon in here, and it looks fantastic as well. Emma's going to share a story about some fish. She's got form in this pool as well, but she's very kindly said we'll go and have a throw in here. But yeah, it's for some reason, I think I fish it okay, but I just never had a fish in here. So I'm going to see if we can change that. Expectations still good, and as the trout angler in me, there's midges everywhere at the moment. So they're hatching, so there's plenty of stuff around. When you're out of the wind's not so heavy now, but the temperature's nice. You know, if I was salmon fishing, and I am salmon fishing, I'd be thinking to myself, this is good conditions. You know, I've got a chance of somebody biting the fly. So we'll keep on trying and going from there. But yeah, I'm going to make my first few casts. There's a oak tree that goes across a lot of the pool, gives it nice shade, and it's sometimes with a heavy fly on that I've got, it kicks the fly over really high, so you sort of have to think about how you're casting that first head bit. And it's not super deep either. There's sort of channels and gullies that the fish can sit in, and then at the lip of the pool is just clear of that oak tree, and then I think that's where something could potentially happen. But like I say, I've never had any real joys in here. It is just a beautiful pool, but yeah, I'm going to give it a really good go. We split the pool in half, actually. I thought it was nice that I did the head under the oak tree, and then Emma's doing the flow as it comes down. The fly's swinging beautifully in there. There's a little bay opposite where I'm standing. It's not very big at all, but I remember Emma putting a cast in there once to get an almighty yank off a fish. So watching with bated breath to see what might happen there. But yeah, it's a long pool. The river here, we're in double-hander territory. I sometimes in lower water fish single-hander, but we're fishing a 12-foot odd rod, C&D, which I really, really like. And it's just perfect for here. The river's probably 50 feet across, something like that. Yeah, about that, I would say. Perhaps a tiny bit more as well, with this little bit more water in there. But the rod works perfectly down there. And yeah, we're doing our part of the deal without shadow of a doubt. So that's 4 acres fish. No dice there at the moment. Like I say, conditions look wonderful. There has been a light shower we've been sort of fishing through at the moment. Nothing heavy at the moment, but I wonder if that's done anything for pressure. When I first started recording this bit, that it felt as though pressure was just absolutely spot on. But I've got no built-in barometer, but the air feels a little bit thinner. It doesn't feel as close as it did. I'm sure you'll know that feeling when it feels right, and it felt right, and it doesn't feel quite the same now. But nothing happening in this one. But you got some form in this pool, Em, haven't you? That you caught a few fish in here.
Yes, I've been very, very lucky here. There was one that was very exciting, caught near the top. There's some oak trees at the head of the pool. Hooked the fish right under those, and it took me 80 yards downstream. I've never had anything like that, so that was really exciting. And then there was another one that I was fishing with a dropper, and a salmon took the main fly, and halfway through the fight, the salmon was running downstream, and the dropper got hooked in some weed. So everything came to a standstill. The fish was flailing around. We didn't know what to do. And then there was quite a flow to the river. And Pete very bravely went into the flow and kicked the dropper out of the weed, saved the day. And we netted the salmon, which was rather brilliant.
And one of those, I think the one that you said took 80 yards down, it was about 16 pounds, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was big fish. It was nice. It was the best fight I've ever had. So very memorable.
And I was just saying about the pressure, and I remember that fish because we often come here, don't we, and say it feels right. And listeners will know exactly what that means. And I remember that day because it did feel right. The conditions were absolutely spot on. The river had been dropping away after lifting a little bit, and it was just about right, wasn't it?
Yes, quite often at home, one of us will go outside and we're just like, this feels great. And there's just something about the atmosphere, the sort of stillness and, like a heaviness almost to the air that you can feel. And moments like that, if we're not busy, we take the time and come on down, even if it's just to fish 2 pools. And sometimes it's been productive for us. So there's obviously something in the blood that tells us.
And it is, like you say, it's those conditions, and when it feels right, we'll often walk away. And we may not have caught a fish, but we'll often say, I think somebody will have one today, don't we? Yes,
and if we didn't come down, we'd regret it, because we feel that we'd have missed out on a fairly decent opportunity when there aren't many throughout the year.
Often I'll be sitting there thinking, the river's big, the fish will be running, they'll go through, somebody's going to catch one on the mole today, or perhaps further up near the Fox Waters and stuff like that. So you're always aware of these sorts of things and those little things that you're thinking about. And that's one of the nice things about the season, that when it's underway, certainly for me, because my life revolves around fishing so much, that you're thinking about water heights, water temperatures, water clarity, air temperature, hatches, whatever it may be. And you kind of forget about it a little bit over winter, and it's nice to be back standing in somewhere that means so much, and still keeping the faith with what could happen. Daffodils out. I said earlier there was garlic as well. You saw some other flowers as well, didn't you?
Yeah, some anemones are out upstream as well. It feels really early for the garlic to be showing. I probably say that every year, but it feels really, really early. And the balsam's coming through, so I've been picking up while Pete's been fishing. I've been getting rid of all the seedlings that I can see. So try and get on top of it as soon as we can.
This is probably the last pool we're going to fish today. I've kept the best till last. It's called Bottom Pool, and I absolutely love it. Kind of reminds me of a Scottish salmon pool. It fishes best in full mid to lower water, and I'd call where we are now about mid for salmon fishing. You may be able to hear it in the background. And it's just a beauty. Again, it's a lovely V, goes down the centre of the pool. Just absolutely stunning, and then just goes on to the next beat at the tail there. But I love fishing this one. It's probably my favourite. It fishes well when it's really sunny as well, because I'm on left bank looking downstream. There's trees over it, and it remains sheltered the whole time. So no matter what the brightness of the weather is, it's always fishable. But yeah, with bigger water, that it doesn't fish so well. It's just a little bit too much. It's just on the cusp of being fishable right now. So I'm excited to be able to make a cast in there. We'll see how we get on. As I said, expectations aren't particularly high, but just being here and being able to make a cast is fabulous. And you never know, there might be a unicorn waiting in here. So that's bottom pool fished. Varied how I presented the fly, the speed of it. I tried to get it as slow as I possibly could to run through that pool, and felt I did okay actually. But, you know, that's just how it goes here. You just have to keep the faith. And one of these things about the podcast, and even what I'm trying to do with trout and salmon, is look at fishing from a bigger, wider perspective, that it's not about the fishing, it's about the experience, it's about the friendships, and in my case getting to go fishing with your wife as well, which is great fun, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe that the season may throw us a fish, it may not, but that doesn't matter. I'm not bothered about that. Being able to come to these places, make a good cast every now and again, and if we get that fish, then sometimes we might allow ourselves a smile or two. But Emma, I've really enjoyed today. It's been great. What are you doing tomorrow?
Are we here again? I don't know.
I think we might have another look. That's the problem with this fishing thing. It becomes an addiction. It becomes something that you think about all the time. And now it's up and running. Yeah. I'm already starting to think about trout on Dartmoor, pulling streamers here, those sorts of things. And we'll see how this year plays out. A little bit of, you've heard a little bit about the fishing here, and I forgot actually when I was fishing that I've come out of retirement for the Wild Trout Trust auction, and I'm going to be doing a day's guiding here, so you can join Monty and me. We might grab some pasties, we might do whatever we do, and fish. We'll do a podcast perhaps as well. So if you want to support a worthy cause, if you want to come down to Devon and hang out, perhaps catch a fish if you're really, really lucky, then keep an eye out for the Wild Trout Trust auction as well. So that's coming very, very soon. Like I said at the beginning, we've got our event end of March as well at the Fox and Hounds, which is going to be great fun. I'm super excited about that. And I think if it works out, that we might try and roll some more out across the country as well. These weekends of putting people together, meeting up, perhaps forging new friendships, and going fishing together, and that's pretty cool by me. But that's been really, really cool fun. Another day, that's another cast near a fish, right?
That's all we do, isn't it? Yep, fish for 1,000 casts, probably more down here to be fair.
Yeah, I wrote that somewhere the other day, and if my one fish in 5 years is probably 10,000 casts at least. So that puts that in perspective. Does it stop me from enjoying it? Not for 1 second. Well, this has been an impromptu, let's go to the river, let's share it with you type podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. You fish fantastically. As always, it's great fun. It was fun sharing a rod as well. I know when the game gets a bit more serious, we split up, don't we, and fish different pools and then report back about how we're getting on. But here's the next one, and thanks for a lovely day.
Thank you. It's just lovely seeing the seasons change as well, isn't it? Being down here at the very beginning and seeing the chinks of greenery coming through the trees, being able to see the pools properly through the trees. And next time we come down, it will probably be lush and green, and it changes super quickly. And it's lovely to experience that and take it all in.
Well, everyone, this has been another episode of the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this one. And like I say, it was an impromptu one. We said, well, sod it. Let's do one and go fishing and share the experience and go from there. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. As ever, there'll never be any charge for these. Just want you to enjoy listening to stories about fly fishing. So there'll be plenty more coming very, very soon. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Fly Culture Podcast, brought to you in association with the Voice of Game Angling, Trout and Salmon, where Pete is the editor.